If there's one thing that Among Us has taught the world in 2020, it's the fact that deception is a skill that, much like any other, has to be trained. And the same applies to Sea of Thieves as well. Styling on skeleton AI is only fun for so long before you begin craving the thrill of social interaction, and of course you could always just go around and sink every ship in sight, but where's the fun in that? Don't be mistaken, deception should be a skill of every pirate on the sea. Not only does it allow you to read your opposition's intent and thus make more informed decisions in and out of combat, but minimizing risk for maximum profit is something that actual pirates engaged in all the time. So after I spent my morning stalking a Reaper brigantine that decided to raise the Alliance alpha flag, you know I couldn't resist. Of course I joined the Alliance to give them a false sense of security and let them complete the Ashen Winds event for me while waiting for my second in command to wake up. Today's story is one of deception, revenge, and a whole lot of tenacity. So sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself another chapter of the Sea of Tales. I know I usually begin these episodes at an outpost, but sometimes the will of Davy Jones can be fairly unpredictable. I wasn't really intending to go on a voyage that day, but when I spotted said Reaper Emissary clearing Ashen Winds, I felt inclined to keep my eyes peeled. And since there's more to this tale than just being deceptive, starting it off with a combat encounter seems fitting for the pace we're about to take.
Alright, I'm about to board them, Clip. You ready?
Coming in hot.
On the ladder. They're on the harpoons right now.
Sinking ships bigger than your own more than anything else is a team effort. Neither Birdie nor I can call ourselves seasoned pirates, so making sure that I can cover his boarding attempt with a barrage of cannonballs would definitely be necessary. Unfortunately, Birdie found himself sliced into pieces by a storm of blades. However, he did manage to drop their anchor before they dropped him into the Ferry of the Damned. And that is all the time I needed to roll up, take out both of their masts, and even give them a couple holes to boot. I would lie if I said that I expected to face a crew of competent pirates considering the Alliance plus Reaper combo that they were sailing under, meaning that it would take them quite some time to repair the damage I did to them while I continued to lay into their ship from a safe distance. Birdie had finally returned, and this time he would enjoy my unimpeded support. Rather than just busting more holes into their vessel, setting them on fire as well as shaking them about would do well in covering Birdie's boarding attempt while they panic. The man disadvantage didn't really bother us at all as Birdie and I were operating under perfect unison into the night. Big-balling them?
Oh, you jigballed me.
Oh! Listen.
That's okay, that works. Just go ahead and keep doing that. Because they can't repair the ship, so go ahead.
Okay, maybe I overstated the perfect unison thing, but hey, at least we learned that cursed cannonballs also affect your own crewmates if they are currently on the opposing vessel. I'm sure nobody has figured that one out yet. The hilarious thing about this encounter was the fact that they went through the effort of clearing the Ashen Winds event just to be met with a rank 4 emissary flag, while all we did was sink them in the span of a few minutes to get the same rank. And on top of that, there was a skeleton captain on the island that we could just yeet into Narnia in order to get that elusive rank 5. But I couldn't shake the feeling that we forgot about something. Did you lower our Alliance flag? Oh. Wow, okay. Honestly, that whole thing felt like a job well done. This time it wasn't us bullying sloops on a galleon, it was us fighting a brigantine on a sloop. It would have obviously been much more difficult if these guys expected us to fight them, with the whole thing breaking out on the open sea. But hey, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Using deception as a tool in your arsenal to make up for a disadvantage or even to create an advantage for yourself is something you should consider. We could now reap the rewards of all the work that these guys put into getting all these items for the fastest, albeit not biggest profit we ever had the pleasure of cashing in. But one thing we didn't expect from a crew of pirates that sail with an Alliance alpha flag was for them to try and get revenge, though I have to say, I welcome their tenacity. The other... Oh, there's a... Whoa, there's a ship behind us?
Oh, brigantine, they're coming back for revenge, Cliff!
That's what we love to see. That initial fight was almost too easy, to the point where we had gotten complacent, but thankfully they returned with a fury in their hearts that couldn't be quenched by simple negotiation. Our first engagement already taught us that they only had one confident shot on their crew, which was the fella they sent to take us out. And with that kind of aggression on display, we knew that they would give us a run for our money. Or their money, I suppose. This was unlike their previous showing. We were the ones caught with our pants down this time, meaning I needed some time to breathe in order to come up with a countermeasure. On top of that, we had already dropped off a significant amount of items before they attacked, meaning that these guys could just roll up and sell them instead. But Birdie was bringing up a good point.
Yes, I don't care if it gets sold, we need to kill these guys. It's not about the loot, Cliff, it's about killing them.
Honestly, I had to agree with him. Sure, at the end of the day we go on voyages to make money, but some things are more important than coins, and one such thing is the matter of principle. Just like I predicted, this battle was much more annoying on the open seas, where the waves are making it more difficult for me to land my shots while Birdie was on their ship. But despite popular belief, we're not actually stupid. Both of us have been well aware of the fact that this was a war of attrition. Considering the fact that these guys are fighting on a fresh vessel, we knew that they were bound to run out of resources eventually. Draining their wood supply via cannon shots was one thing, but we also wanted to drain their food supply with a steady cascade of damage, for which the venom ball was perfect. But at some point, we had to split our attention. I fired myself onto Reaper's hideout to sell the items that we had to abandon, and interestingly enough, despite the fact that we made no effort to hide our intention, none of them even attempted to stop me. I got to peacefully sell every single item while Birdie was circling the island, with them somehow being incapable of catching up due to their inferior sailing skills. Though that piece would be broken when a megalodon appeared.
Wait, no way, no way, no way, no way, no way, no way. Is that a shrouded? I'm not even kidding.
We all know the tale of the legendary shrouded ghost, a megalodon so elusive that some question its very existence. For Birdie to suggest that he encountered one such fabled creature, I had to see it for myself. Once I found a mermaid to send me back to our ship, I immediately jumped into the water to make sure that what Birdie found was actually the shrouded ghost. That looks like Shadow Maw to me.
I don't think so.
He's right in front of me, I'm shooting him. As it turns out, Birdie really needs to fix his glasses, or what he calls a gaming laptop, because what he thought was Shrouded Ghost was actually Shadow Maw. The only reason we decided to take this fight so far into the open sea was because we wanted to make sure that the Megalodon does not disappear on us. But when we found out that it wasn't the one that Birdie claimed it was, I decided that I had enough of that chase and anchor turned us back to Reaper's hideout. Say what you will about anchor turning as a strategy, but the enemy ship zipped past us in the flash and it actually took them quite a significant amount of time to catch up to us again. Time that we could use to continue sailing around Reaper's hideout while selling our loot one by one. When most of the loot was already sold, I began questioning how long it would take that brigantine crew to realize that the reason we circled the hideout was to sell their stuff. But my smug commentary would eventually be my downfall when I was caught off guard by the one person on their crew that actually knew how to land a shot. When I returned from the ferry of the damned, I found Birdie getting attacked by a single boulder, and weapon jamming aside, I started to get really fed up with this encounter. We have been playing very conservatively up until this point because we couldn't afford to play into their man advantage. But when most of the loot was already sold, there was no reason for caution. Birdie just barely failed in his boarding attempt, with the opposing crew catching the anchor before it fully dropped. But since we never sent more than one boulder at a time, that gave them a false sense of security, allowing me to get on the ship and raise havoc. One dead. They caught anchor again.
Kill him, kill him, kill him. Did they get the anchor down? Did you get the anchor down?
I think they caught it.
I'm merming back to our ship then.
3 dead. With their entire crew on the ferry of the damned and their anchor finally touching the bottom of the ocean, we were in a prime position to end this fight once and for all. We were right in our assumption that they were running out of resources to continue this battle, though thankfully they still had some fire bombs that allowed me to make this a little more threatening for them. Birdie sailed by to bust some more holes into their ship, and it didn't take long for the first crew member to return from the ferry and rush past the flames to execute bloody revenge. A masterful sidestep allowed him to escape my blunderbuss, and before I knew it, I had no choice but to retreat into the water. But this was my domain. Considering that this was not the guy that was carrying 2 guns on him, it was safe to assume that he would be one of the 2 crew members that only ever used their swords, meaning that in a situation like that, my eye of reach would prevail. This was the final nail in the coffin for them. Birdie and I had taken control of their vessel, which was littered with holes while burning to a crisp. And as soon as their deck was covered in water, we would merm back and sell the last few items we still had. Actually, we were having so much fun with these guys that we decided to stick around for a little while to see if they wanted to tango once more, but unfortunately, losing twice was twice too often for them. What started as a simple act of deception turned into a revenge plot with one of the better PvP encounters we had in a long time. Honestly, nothing but respect for these guys for giving us a good fight. And that concludes our story for today. If you like what you've seen, then do let me know by dropping me a like on your way out, consider subscribing if you want to see more, and definitely hit that bell icon to not miss out on my next upload. I hope you guys have a day filled with riches on the sea, and until next time, peace.
How long is 8 to 12? Hold on.
Too long. Oh, what? Excuse me?
What?
The mask is peeking up again. What?
Hold on, wait. Let me tie it back in. Game.
Oh, it's gone now.
What did it like flipped over?
It just bounced back. It's like, oh, I'm back.